The Florida Gators offensive line is going to be the best position group on the team, but also maybe one of the best in the entire country.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free for the podcast and on YouTube. Happy Wednesday. I am Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work for New York Giants on SI, and I hope to God that this heat wave ends soon because it is crazy. This episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. And I think the Florida Gators offensive line is going to be the best unit on the team this year. I don't think that that's a hot take. I don't think that that's a weird take or a bad take. And by the way, we are talking about this Subtext Insiders, the Locked On Gators Insider Program. You requested it. We're doing it. We are talking about the strongest position groups on this team. Offensive line has to be up there, right? I mean, you're returning 4 of your 5 starters from last year. The only starter not returning is Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon. You are bringing back your left tackle, Austin Barber, your left guard, Knijeah Harris, your center, All-American Jake Slaughter, your right guard, Damian George, and your right tackle will likely be Bryce Lovett at this point. I think that's a fantastic starting 5. I know that there are plenty of people who think Austin Barber should be on the right side. I also think that Austin Barber should be on the right side. I will say this, maybe the coaching staff also wants him on the right side, but doesn't feel like they have someone for the left side that can deal with everything there. And so maybe that's it. But again, I also agree that he should be on the right side. It's just where I stand on it. I think that long-term he'll be better as a right tackle when we're talking about the NFL and then long-term development. I think a lot of teams are going to view Austin Barber as a right tackle. And again, we're gonna talk about this for a second as well. That's not a bad thing. Okay, there are a lot of people who take that as an insult, who go, oh, he's not good enough for left tackle. I think that his film at right tackle is better. I will also say that now NFL teams are looking for 2 high-quality offensive tackles because almost every good NFL team has 2 high-quality edge rushers. And so you need 2 high-quality offensive tackles that can offset those guys. That's what it is. It's not a knock anymore. People have to get past this archaic thought of, oh, well, left tackle's the good one, right tackle's the worst one. People are just different. I think that Austin Barber moves better to his right side when he's dropping into his pass set. I think he looks more comfortable. And it's been, 2 seasons since he's played the right side? But when I look at him taking that set from the right side compared to the left side, I think he looks better from the right side. I know there are plenty of people who also feel the same way. I just want the people who feel differently to not think that it's an insult because I'm not insulting Austin Barber. I actually have really high expectations for him. And if Florida ended up having 2 All-Americans on the offensive line, I wouldn't be stunned. I'm fully bought in right now on especially Jonathan DeCoster's development. Part of him or part of what he posts online with the workouts, with the drills that he's showing, part of just knowing where he comes from and knowing the coaching tree that he is bringing to Florida, their coaching methods. Some of the best offensive line coaches, if not the best offensive line coaches on the planet. That's what Jonathan DeCoster brings. That's one of the reasons that I'm so high on this offensive line this year, is that development. And again, you've got Bryce Lovett likely stepping into the starting role at right tackle. He's a guy that, could play right tackle, could play both guard spots, probably play center at the SEC level as well. Incredibly talented, incredibly versatile. I'm really excited to see what that looks like, okay? And outside of just the starting 5, with Rod Kearney on the interior, with Caden Jones at one of the tackle spots, with Fletcher Westphal at one of the tackle spots, with Jason Zandamela at center, I feel like, and also those are just the young guys, right? That's not mentioning Devin Manuel also there. That's not mentioning Cam Waits, who I am still not a fan of. I'm just going to be honest with it. That's the point here. But Cam Waits, who I'm still not a fan of, he's probably going to be slotting in at right guard. There are still a lot of guys on this team that can play and that I'm comfortable with. Again, like the young guys, like Caden Jones, you look at Caden Jones when he got on the field last year, and he looked damn good. Fletcher Westphal didn't really play, but you look at the spring game from last year, and when you can see all the film, every play, he looks like a freshman, but he looks like a damn good freshman. He looks like a higher starting point at freshman than anyone else. He does. He just looks like a higher quality player, higher quality lineman than any other freshman that Florida brought in. He looks like he's a step above every other freshman Florida's brought in on the offensive line. And I think that Fletcher Westphal maybe can't take that step this year because there's just not a path to playing time in front of him or a path to significant playing time in front of him. But I do feel really comfortable knowing that he's going to be waiting in the wings for 2026. Because in 2026, by the way, Bryce Lovett's going to be draft eligible this year. So if he has a really good year right tackle, he can do that. So you could possibly see Austin Barber and Bryce Lovett both gone. Fletcher Westphal, Caden Jones could be the starters in 2026, but this is just an offensive line unit where, and look, I have been very critical of Rob Sale. I have been very critical, and I'm still going to be critical of his recruiting. But the whole thing that I was saying for every time, every year when we talk about recruiting with Rob Sale, the thing that I would talk about was recruiting guys that just have all the physical traits and all the physical tools, but need a lot of work and a lot of development is a fine approach. As long as you are here long enough to develop them and you can actually develop them. And we are approaching a point where you're here long enough to develop them. You are, like, the question with Rob Sale for me was never really development. You're here long enough to develop them. And I trust that you're capable of getting them ready. Again, at Louisiana, don't forget, after year one, when everybody was calling for Rob Sale's job, I was like, look, he can develop guys. He's done it. Now it seems like they're back on track, that they're back moving positively, and the Florida Gators offensive line is set to be one of the best in the entire country and the best that we've seen in Gainesville in a very, very long time. Speaking of the trenches, the Florida Gators defensive line, I think also going to be really damn good. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to get Rougiette ready. Okay? Rougiette is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. And unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rougiette's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue, kicks in fast, and on average, kicks in 15 minutes, and effects can last up to 36 hours. So you stay confident and in control when the moment is right. Head to Rougiette.com/LockedOnCollege and use code LockedOnCollege to get 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnCollege and use promo code LockedOnCollege for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rougiette website for full safety information. Thanks for being Locked On Gators, your first listen of the day. Every day, we are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. And like I said, the Florida Gators defensive line also going to be really freaking good this year. And I will say this before we even continue going on. There were 4 spots that I was really considering for this show of my 3 favorite position groups or the 3 best position groups. Okay. It was offensive line was a no-brainer. Defensive line, running back, and linebacker were all in there. Right now, we're going to talk about defensive line. You'll find out what we're going to talk about in the third segment. But I will also say that, first off, I love being able to say this about the Florida Gators trenches. Like, I love being able to go, you know what the best position groups on the Florida Gators roster is or are? Offensive line and defensive line. It has been a long time since we've been able to really say that and be honest about it. That, hey, you know what the best spots are in Florida? The trenches. Again, we're living in a time where the trenches are more valuable than I think they've been in a very long time. You know, it used to be about pace and space, and we're seeing teams in the NFL and college start to transition back to good old-fashioned ground and pound football, 3 yards and a cloud of dust and whoop some ass football. We're getting back to that. Florida is ready for that. Florida's prepared for that, okay? And I will say, I absolutely understand that there are depth concerns, specifically at nose tackle. And I did, while doing this, I did take that into account. I weighed everything I could for all 4 of the spots. And for me, when I look at all the rooms, it came down to let me phrase this properly. It came down to I'm not going to penalize them that much for the questions, I'll say, about depth. Mostly because those questions come on the interior for me, which we'll talk about the edge in a second. And again, I'm saying front 4 here, okay? So I'm including the lineman and the jack. Including those, that's the front 4. But for me, having 2 players that have very genuine chances at being top 40 picks in less than a year, for me, that means a lot, okay? Having guys like Caleb Banks and Tyreak Sapp are the 2 players that I was referring to as, again, guys that could and arguably should be top 40 picks in the 2026 NFL draft. Having both of them on the defensive line, to me, means a lot. I think that Tyreak Sapp is not going to put up gaudy numbers like that, but I do think that his film is really good now. And I say that as someone that for quite some time was saying we need to stop hyping the guys that we haven't really seen yet as if they are already good. And Tyreak Sapp was one of those. A lot of it was Tyreak Sapp and Justice Boone. People would constantly hype them both up. And I was like, look, we haven't seen much from them. Tyreak Sapp from 2023 to 2024 took a massive developmental jump. He played like a good NFL player there. All right, like he took steps and strides. He got a lot better. So Tyreak Sapp, I doubted you previously. I no longer doubt you. Caleb Banks, when he came over from Louisville, was someone that was not widely accepted by Florida Gators fans. It was, we're taking a guy that can't even play at Louisville. And I will say this as well, by our measurement of what makes a good transfer portal take, initial reaction-wise, wasn't a good take. Because again, our what makes a good transfer portal take initially, before we're talking about anything with their actual development and what they do when they get on campus, the take is good take if you've been in college for 1 year and that's it, or if you were a proven productive player last year. That's it. And Caleb Banks wasn't that when he came over from Louisville. Both Tyreak Sapp and Caleb Banks have taken massive steps. Florida took a swing on a tight end convert from Northern Illinois. Shout out the MAC, baby. But took a tight end convert at Jack. He had 1 year of edge rusher experience there. And they took him, and he balled the hell out last year. He needs a lot of work. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he's a top 40 pick. I think he can be a day 2 pick, but I do think he needs a lot of work technical-wise. But I look at Gums on the edge, and I look at the youth across the entire front, and it at least makes me happy with the way that things have filled out so far. And I also want to say that, like, Jamari Lyons, we don't know what he's going to be. We know what the expectations were going into 2024, and then he got hurt, and we know that we're going to see what he is this year. But I do think that that starting front 4 of Tyreak Sapp, Jamari Lyons, Caleb Banks, and George Gums is going to be really good. I think they're going to be elite. I think the pass rush that the Gators can put together is going to be elite. And I think everybody, if you're new here, welcome to Locked On Gators. If you've been here for a long time, I think everybody that has been here for a long time knows how I feel about projection. And if you haven't been here for a long time, then the way that I feel about projecting talent and expectations is that most people are not going to really live up to the hype. I think we've gotten to a point now, especially with how politicized and horrible recruiting rankings have become, that people really misproject how good players are going to be. And I understand from a fan side, you see a lot of young names and you go, all right, well, they got to be really good. They're all going to be really good. I don't think that's true. However, I can say that when I look at the depth on this Florida Gators roster, I could say that Cameron James played really well last year when he was on the field. He, of course, was a rotational role, but played really well and was arguably the best player against Miami. Mekhi Boye-Rowe played really well for a true freshman that probably shouldn't have been playing as much as he did, but he played really well. Okay. Tarvarice Brown. Big expectations for him. He was a very late addition last year. Breon Taylor. Again, Kofi Asari coming over from UMass. He's got a tool. Again, Kofi Asari, the take with me was not that I think he's bad. I think that he needs more work than a lot of the Gators fans realize. But again, I do think that this coaching staff has earned a bit with the developmental side. LJ McCray, one of the highest ranked players in the 2024 recruiting class. Year 2. A lot more opportunities for playing time. Jalen Wiggins, Jaden Woods, Jeremiah McLeod, all true freshmen. That's a lot of young names. And me being someone that says, hey, when we talk about projection, odds are not everybody's going to make it. Odds are not everybody's going to make it to the expectations that you have for them. Odds are this, odds are that. But you know what? That's enough bodies with guys like Cam James, Mekhi Boye-Rowe that have proven film. And again, I think that Mekhi Boye-Rowe exceeded my expectations for him last year. I think Cam James looked really good. I think having those two means that everybody else, you need one or two guys that can really step up and become the next guy for you. That's it. And I don't think that's asking for a lot out of the, 8 other players that we named, 7 other players that we named. So they got Jalen Wiggins, Jeremiah McLeod, Jaden Woods, Tarvarice Brown, Breon Taylor, Kofi Asari, LJ McCray, 7 other names that I threw out there. And we need 2 of them to sell. That's fine. I am someone that doubts projection and has questions about projection. That's just the fact of the matter. But I don't need 100% hit rate. I don't need 75% hit rate. Hell, I don't need 50% hit rate. I need for this year, 2 of those 7 to step up. Is that 27%? I'm not great with math, so I'm going to just 28.6%. I wasn't far off. 28.6%. That's what I need. I need a 28.6% hit rate. That's a pretty good batting average, and we ain't talking about baseball right now, so I just need those guys to step up. We are going to talk about the final position. Is it running back? Is it linebacker? What do you think the top 3 positions are on this roster? Let me know in the comments or review, message, whatever it is you want to do. We'll talk about the last one in just a second with Locked On Gators. You ever wish managing your money felt, easier? Well, with Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat, and it's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. And Monarch Money is more than just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, all of your investments, and all of your spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building your wealth. And I'll tell you, I love Monarch Money. I do try to just say, hey, this is our sponsor. They're supporting us. I'm going to support them. I'm going to go use it. Monarch Money is something that I have started using since they became a sponsor. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free, whether it's the podcast and on YouTube. And to wrap up today's show, we are talking about the drum roll, please. I don't know if you could hear it. There's background noise. I got an air conditioner on. It's 100-something degrees up here today, so I'm going to do that. Running back room. Jacoby Jackson and Jadan Baugh proved in 2024 that they could be productive, effective, and reliable. And I think that that can't be overstated enough, especially when you talk about the injuries that they dealt with in the running back room, not with them, but you talk about the running back room injuries where going into the year, I think a lot of people thought, okay, well, we've got Montreal going into his senior year. Behind him is going to be Treon Webb, is probably going to be running back 2. And just before you start cursing me out, I think a lot of people thought Treon Webb would be running back 2 because he was running back 3 the year prior. And so I think that when a lot of people are projecting depth chart changes, they go, all right, it's literally just, hey, starters out, number 2 go to 1, number 3 go to 2. That's a change. That's not really how it works. We know that. But that is often how it's, I guess, presented, we'll say, in debates and in conversation. So I think a lot of Florida Gators fans thought we'd go, all right, well, Montreal into his final year, Treon Webb into his next year as running back 2. And then you've got, Jacoby Jackson can compete with Jadan Baugh, with Katie Daniels. And then, Montreal got hurt, Treon Webb got hurt, and the vast majority of the production in the running back room in 2024 came from Jacoby Jackson and Jadan Baugh. And so I think the fact that they weren't really prepared to be the starters, or I don't want to say prepared, because I do think they were prepared, as in mentally they were ready to do it, but they weren't really coached to be the starters in 2024. I think that really proves their level of talent. And the fact that they came in and produced and were effective and were consistent in it as well. I think that having them back for another year now is just that much more important, that much more crucial. Jadan Baugh did that all as a true freshman last year. That's incredible. That's awesome, by the way. I just want to throw that. That's really freaking cool. But Jacoby Jackson, Jadan Baugh in 2024 were incredibly productive, incredibly effective. I am really looking forward to seeing how Jadan Baugh develops. I would like to see him become more of a pass catcher. And honestly, one of my gripes with the running back room is just I don't think they were used enough in the passing game. I do think we saw some kind of shifts that I do think were from Russ Callaway, where you had, and I will explain that in a second, but there were some kind of shifts, I think, with Russ Callaway coming in or taking a co-OC role, where you saw that running back kind of just run a little swing and the offensive line come pull and get out in space. And I think that's a very air raidy thing to do. And Russ Callaway, of course, an air raid guy. And so I liked seeing that. I did. I would like to see more screens. I would like to see more wheel routes, more angles. Like if you just give me, honestly, if you give me 4 routes from a running back, I'm cool with it. If I could see those swings, if I could see bench table, whatever you want to call it, if I could see Texas routes and if I could see wheel routes, I'm cool with it. Like if I see those from a running back room and those are the only routes they run, I'm genuinely fine with it. Don't just spend your time perfecting those. Don't worry too much about learning how to do all the other things. Just be able to do those things. Be effective, because you're not going to be a huge part of the passing game. But I do think that with the running backs that Florida has, you can get them the ball in space and they can just mow down corners. And I think that's huge. And I will say for the rest of the running back room, I don't care where you rank Treon Webb. I don't care where you rank KD Daniels. I don't care where you rank the freshmen. So Waltez Clark, Chad Gasper, Byron Lewis. Chad Gasper, of course, not expected to do much this year. He's still recovering from an injury in his senior year. I don't care where you rank them. But the fact that and let's remove Chad Gasper from the conversation for a second. The fact that you can go, hey, we got Jacoby Jackson, Jadan Baugh, Treon Webb, KD Daniels, and Waltez Clark, and Byron Lewis. I don't know how else to put it other than that's a talented-ass running back room. And so I will say I considered putting linebacker. I did. But I think that the top, because I think that they both got insane depth. But for me, the top of the running back room is more proven than the top of the linebacker room. We saw Pup Howard get injured. We haven't seen Jaden Robinson as a full year starter yet, although I am very happy for what he can be, or I have high expectations. But for me, that's why I came down to running back over linebacker. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day, every day. We are available daily and free. We have us in the podcast and on YouTube. We will be back tomorrow. Talk more Florida Gators. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work, New York Giants on SI, and I'll see you all next time.